And we are live. Go right ahead.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Hill Country.
Hang on just a second, Susan.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, and Susan, your microphone is now live again. Sorry about that. I went and muted everybody.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Hill Country. My name is Susan Lipp, and I will be your service associate this morning. Visitors are a gift to us, and although probably everyone on this call is a member of this church, those who are visiting for the first time, could you raise your hand to be acknowledged? No, so it's just our nice group, and it's great that we're all together. Any announcements this morning on Zoom chat?
Nobody sent anything to me. If anybody has something to announce, just give me a wave and we'll... Okay, Linda and... Okay, should be asking you to unmute.
There. Does anyone in the group have any objection to being recorded? Because we're recording these services and posting them on the website so that you can go back and look at them anytime. You can hear Steve's music, you can hear art again. They're on the website. Now, having said that, that means we are ready for prime time. So we probably should avoid getting up and going to get something to eat and coming and doing that kind of thing, because it kind of distracts on the video. So keep in mind that you're in the movies now.
If you do need to get up, or or if you're going to be eating at your desk, whatever, you do have the stop video button, so you can turn off your camera for a little bit if you want to do that, or if you've got a scratch an embarrassing itch, or that kind of stuff, then go for it. You can stop your video too if anything you want to cut off there.
Coffee drinking is fine. That's a you given.
I'm sticking with Diet Mountain Dew. I've already had half a pot of coffee, so I'm good to go.
Great. Now we're going to light our chalice this morning. For the gift of this day and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul. Thank you, Yankee Candle.
Justin, I've lost my video. I can't see anything. How do I get back to it?
Well, let's see.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you just fine.
Okay. What do I do to get back? I'm sorry to gum the works up here, but I've lost the view. All I see is Zoom, the word Zoom.
Okay.
Big blue letters.
Okay. Try, let's see. Are you on a Windows or a Mac?
Windows.
Okay. Try doing Alt and then Tab.
Alt and what?
Alt and Tab above the caps lock.
Ah, thank you. Okay. Proceed. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see.
You need to start again.
Okay, I think. Let's see. Were we doing the opening words? Yeah.
With Jill.
Oh.
Chalice. Were we having a chalice lighting?
We just did.
We did that.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry I'm making a mess of this movie. Okay, opening words. I'm going to start with the mission statement and then do the opening words that are listed. We journey together, guided by UU values to seek nurture, and serve our loving church family, our community, and our world. The opening words are from Janis Joplin, and please keep in mind that she wrote these words to be wailed and shouted, not to be spoken aloud, so they don't come across quite so well. Put on your high heel sneakers, honey, put your wig hat on your head, honey, on your head. Put on your high heel sneakers, honey, put your wig hat on your head, all right. You better pass some boxing gloves in case this foreman want to fight. Put on your high heel sneakers, darling, honey, you're gonna wear your wig hat on your head. When I'm stepping out tonight, baby, I do believe I'm really gonna knock 'em dead.
And now let us read in unison our congregational affirmation that you will now find on your screen in just a moment. The doctrine of this church is love. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. And this is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, as we strive to have all souls grow into harmony with the divine.
Susan, would you like me to proceed with the reading?
Yes, please.
Okay. Darwin's Orchid by Joyce H. Newman. The exquisite ivory star-shaped blossoms of Darwin's star orchid are famous for their association with Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution. The story goes that Darwin was sent a sample of the flower in 1862. Upon seeing its long, narrow nectar tube, he predicted that there must be an insect with a very long proboscis that could reach deep within the hollow space to drink the nectar at the bottom. In so doing, the insect would bump into the flower's sticky pollen, enabling its transfer from one flower to another. But no such insect had ever been seen in Madagascar, where the orchid came from, or anywhere else. And many scientists believed Darwin was wildly wrong, so he was ridiculed. Nonetheless, Darwin firmly believed that the star orchid had developed its long nectar tube as an adaptation to ensure pollination, because orchid flowers have their pollen in a single mass and cannot disperse it as other flowers do. Orchids need their specific insect pollinators to survive. Sure enough, about 4 decades after Darwin's prediction, an insect with the exact physical characteristics that Darwin had predicted was discovered, called the hawk moth. Its scientific name is Xanthopan morganii praedicta, which is Latin for predicted moth in honor of Darwin. And I recommend you go on YouTube. You can find YouTubes of this hawk moth and the orchid. It's fascinating to watch. That's the end of the reading.
Okay. Our congregation is entirely self-governed and financially supported by the voluntary generosity of our members and our friends. To this end, please remember to send in your donations in order to sustain the work of this beloved community. Thank you.
Hopefully have everything unloaded before dinner time. And thank you to everybody that's offered to help. I've already got the stuff ready to make fajitas for y'all when we're done. So.
Fajitas.
All
For
right.
all of your joys and all of your sorrows and concerns, expressed or unexpressed, we as a church embrace you. And now it is time for our very own Jill Wiggins.
Odd Arrangements and Funny Solutions by Helen Litton Cowen, who grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, where her family was active in the First Unitarian Congregational Church. She graduated from Swarthmore College and received a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania in Old English Language and Literature. She taught in the English department at Yale and at Brock University in Canada, then attended Harvard Divinity School. From 1980 to 2002, she served as minister of First Parish in Lexington, Massachusetts, where she is now Minister Emerita. And these are her words. There was a fascinating story on public radio evening news that the town of Port Arthur, Texas, a conservative middle American community, is building a memorial to its best known native daughter, Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin, rock star, rebel, outrageous dresser, screamer and chatter, dead of an overdose at age 27. Janis Joplin, who horrified her hometown all the time she was alive, will be honored by that town with a statue. Even the venerable Port Arthur Historical Society is giving its support to the project. You see, Port Arthur has a problem. It's suffering from the oil depression. The economy is in deep, deep trouble. And someone came up with the idea that a memorial to Janis might bring in lots of tourists and their money, like Graceland. An intriguing idea, though I see it as kind of a funny solution. Actually, I'm more interested in Janis herself. How did she get to be the way she was growing up in Port Arthur? I don't mean how did she end up dying of an overdose, because the final steps to that can probably be traced pretty easily. But why did she set herself up as such a rebel in the beginning? She certainly seemed odd, not to say unforgivable, to her townspeople as her life took shape in their midst. Why, they must have asked over and over again, why does she have to be that way? Well, why does one retired millionaire in Florida spend his time clipping newspaper coupons and driving all over town shopping to make sure he saves a few pennies, while another retired millionaire in Florida gets a job bagging groceries and pushing carts in a supermarket so that he can chat with people? Why do some people always enter a room doing something to catch everyone's attention, while others come in so quietly that everybody turns and says, "Who just left?" Why do some people like vacations where they go out into nature, pitch tents, get dirty, wear the same clothes every day, and often end up standing knee-deep in mud and rain, while others seek out a hotel where they hardly have to tie their own shoes? Why do people collect things and such different things? Stamps, coins, matchbooks, paintings, butterflies, books, acquaintances, money. Why are there road runners and couch potatoes? Why does someone like the English travel writer Bruce Chatwin want to be moving on constantly, never settling, while other people want to live and die in the same house in which they were born? Why do some people always want to talk about their feelings and some people never? Why do some insist on meat and potatoes while others explore every foreign cuisine, and yet others prefer to get most of their nutrition in the form of manufactured chemicals? Why do some need mountains, some need oceans, and others need rivers or a big sky? Why do so many people come home from their daily adventures and turn on a machine that numbs them with sound and sight until they can go to bed? And why, with all this wealth of possibility, all these various adaptations to life, why do we each tend to think that our ways of doing things are right? Our vacations, our styles, our collections, our goals, our relationships. And different ways are, well, think about it a moment. What do we think of those whose ways of conducting themselves, whose life patterns, whose major decisions look very different from our own? We may love them at a distance, but aren't they, after all, just a little bit crazy? One of the questions about people, about us, that has always intrigued me is whether we are more alike or more different. If we look at ourselves the way I have just presented us, if we see mainly this radically different surface behavior, we'll certainly be struck by the differences and amazed at how they came to be. As Celia Green says, the remarkable thing about the human mind is its range of limitations. And yet we were all one species, one sort of being, aren't we? When our daughter Sarah was about 3, she developed an early morning pattern of going downstairs and fixing herself a bowl of cereal, complete with flour from the canister, a little grape juice if available, and occasionally some cat food thrown in to keep the cats company. This habit of hers drove us up the wall. Why would she do such an illogical, unreasonable, crazy thing? But no matter how much we asked or told her not to, no matter how gently, insistently, crossly, or loudly we spoke, she wouldn't stop. I think we even hid things away, but she found them. I began to think she was heading down some path to complete abnormality. I have to go off script here and say, why would any parent let a 3-year-old in the kitchen on her own? What if she decided to put laundry detergent instead of cat food or turn on the stove? Okay. And then I happened to read something very simple. There is always a reason for what children do. Though it was hard to believe in this instance, we thought hard about what the reason might be for such odd behavior. And we realized how much attention she was getting from it. It might seem crazy that even negative attention is better than no attention, but it's true. Once we paid more attention to her in general, and especially for positive things, and less attention to the cereal, the pattern came to an end. Don't ask why we got so upset about the cereal, flour, grape juice, and cat food. I'm sure it made perfect sense, and I don't think we solved the issue forever. But the incident and the insight we gained began to force on me the knowledge of our basic shared needs and of the fact that we might, like Darwin's orchid, be willing to use whatever resources were available, however odd or funny, to meet those basic needs. That same year, in the summer, I did chaplaincy training at a hospital as part of my ministerial education. In my group was a younger woman just out of college training for the Presbyterian ministry. She was a warm, caring person, quite bright and articulate. I liked and respected her, but she talked a lot. At lunch, in our group sessions, wherever. Late in our 2-month training period, we had a powerful, difficult group session about some personal ministerial issues. I was sitting next to Karen, and I suddenly became intensely aware of her silence, her long silence amidst our discussion. Just at that point, the supervisor asked me what I was thinking about Karen's behavior, and I said that I was much more aware of her presence than usual because she wasn't talking. It certainly seemed odd to me, as we all then began to understand that Karen's talking was a technique that kept things at a distance. That as long as she talked constantly, she didn't have to take in as much of what was going on with others, and other people shut her off because they were overwhelmed or simply tired of listening. But when she was silent, it was clear that she was really daring to take in something new and different for her. I really wanted to know at that moment just what she was thinking and feeling. She was paying more attention, and more attention was being paid to her. Normally, I thought we talk when we feel safe and want to make contact, and we're silent when we're feeling uneasy or want to be left alone. Well, maybe normally for me, but not normally for Karen. Karen and I met our needs in different ways, but I could see finally that the needs were very much the same. What are the needs that we are meeting with this extraordinary range of human behavior? Just as the orchid develops a range of mechanisms to survive and to thrive, so we do the best we can with the tools of mind and emotion and imagination to survive and to thrive physically. Above all, we need to feel we exist and that we are safe. We need to feel both present and secure. I am convinced that these very basic emotional needs lie at the heart of all kinds of behaviors. That we solve the problem of survival, that we meet these needs so differently, is the result of many factors. Our inborn temperaments, our positions in the family, our family situations, our broader life experiences. Let's just take the issue of attention as an example. Attention is generally a signal to our psyches that we exist, we are there, a reassuring signal that infants seek out very early in life. So when parents are distracted, caught up in their own things, not paying attention to a child, then many children will choose to get into trouble in order to get that attention. A quieter, more passive child might not be able to do that, might never learn how to get attention, might grow up always wondering about whether he or she is really there, and later might find that attention is very frightening because they're not used to it. In other families where, say, one or another parent is always paying attention and there hardly seems to be safety and privacy for the psyche at all, where the me of the child cannot have a sense of an identity separate from the large hovering figure in her life, or in a family where the only attention comes in the form of verbal or physical or even sexual abuse, children might learn every possible way to avoid attention because the wrong kind of attention threatens their existence, their sense of self, their security. In still other families where a number of strong temperaments are in competition with one another, a whole bunch of people with an amazing array of attention-getting devices may be created. We can see how, out of one basic need, a panorama of behaviors can develop. There are many other issues that come out of our basic needs, issues around control and power, around setting and possessions. And I think there are other central needs that we share as well that play a large part in our lives. The need for the fulfillment of our talents, the need for excitement. But what does all this have to do with religion? Well, I think that Darwin's view of the world is a religious view, a view filled with wonder at the marvelous adaptability and interrelationship of living things. He showed us a world of beings constantly responding, changing, developing, creating in order to meet their needs. A world where a man deprived of attention and love in his own household might throw cucumbers over the garden wall in order to get some from other people. It is a view filled with love and appreciation of the extraordinary things that are possible in such a world. When we want other people to be like us, when we pass judgment on them for being different, for being odd or funny, we are expressing our need for security, to be validated by the fact that there are no differences. When we feel safe enough to risk connection with them, then we grow. This is not to say we've got to love and accept everybody at close quarters. The more we understand our own behaviors and the reasons behind them, and the more we see ourselves as others see us, as Robert Burns said, the more we may come to accept our own oddities and quirks. And we may come to feel that certain other oddities and quirks that irritate our own may as well be avoided as much as possible, as long as we also learn that we need not judge the other, as long as we recognize our common humanity beneath the surface and do our best to live together in a more general sense. You know, if Janis Joplin were to suddenly come to life, I don't imagine the inhabitants of Port Arthur would really like her any better now than they did 50 years ago, or she them. Her attention-getting devices were created in that conservative atmosphere to maximize the amount of attention, of irritation, not to create a bond that she couldn't believe in for whatever complex of reasons. But I'd like to think that the residents could appreciate her more as a fellow human being, adaptable, energetic, witty, creative. Who else could have given us that great attention-getting prayer? Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all drive Porsches, I must make amends. Worked hard all my lifetime, no help from my friends. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? And I just wish also that someone she could have trusted in her lifetime could have gotten close enough to her to recognize and understand the need, the problem she was trying to solve before the solution became destructive. I wish that we might all look at one another and recognize and understand the common humanity behind all our odd and funny ways, so that we might feel and indeed become real and safe.
Thank you so much, Jill.
There is a wonderful, again, I went on YouTube a bit for this, and she appeared on Dick Cavett, who was incredibly witty and funny, and she just holds her own. It's really quite delightful. They don't show the actual song that she sang, but it's just the interview, but she really got her own with him.
Now I'll be extinguishing our candle. We extinguish this chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of a free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth. Now I guess we'll share what we felt about this.
All right, Carolyn, 1 second. Let me get you on there.
Has anyone seen the one-woman show, Janice? It's just fantastic. Live show. I'm sure it's on YouTube or whatever. It was an amazing life. It was amazing, and there were a lot of reasons that she decided to be a rebel in Port Arthur. People kind of nudged her into that by neglect, and she was
laughed at
an outcast. Yeah. She was a blazing spirit for sure.
All right, Donna, 1 second here.
I thank you for that service. That made me think of some of the people I know and wonder at what loneliness and pain they must be carrying.
Okay, June, let me get you 1 second here.
So, Jill, thank you so much. That was well read and really interesting. I find myself so often wondering, why does he or she or it do things like they do? And it just, I do realize that it's to be more aware of that instead of just irritated or the world would certainly be a duller place if we were all alike. And
Indeed.
I'm glad we're not, but still, I need to be more thoughtful and generous and forgiving when something really drives me nuts. So, you understand that, Kevin? Kevin understands.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
But thanks for it was a wonderful sermon. Thank you.
Yes, when you're talking about driving you nuts, I always think the driver has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know what she's getting at.
No, I'm not just you. Not just him.
Does anyone agree with me about letting a 3-year-old run loose in the kitchen at whatever hour in the morning, getting into the grape juice and the cat food and everything? I just think that was terribly irresponsible parenting.
That wasn't my household.
She had turned on the stove or decided I need to cut up a banana with the sharpest knife in the house.
My mother kept a diary during the war years, from the time I was born until I was 2. And I have that diary with me. And it's like every other chapter in this diary, it says, well, Carolyn ate the dog food again.
That explains everything, Carolyn.
Raised on dog food. And you have survived.
We were on rations.
A friend of my sister's fixed his breakfast every day from the time he was 3 because his parents slept late, and so he would go and fix cereal and never had any unfortunate occurrences. So I think sometimes we don't give children credit for what they can do and what they've absorbed.
Yeah.
If you protect them from everything, they're not going to have any adventures.
Just what I was going to say is that these days,
What's
they
that?
make enough stuff that lets you childproof, cabinet locks, and you were talking about moving, Justin. I had a friend who moved house, and I offered to help. And the one thing she let me do was unpack her kitchen. I love arranging things, so I set everything up the way I thought it ought to go. But I forgot that she had young children. So when I went back over there the next time, things had been rearranged a bit, and the knives were up on top of the refrigerator. So you can childproof a kitchen enough to let a 3-year-old run loose if you put thought into it and take advantage of some of the things like cabinet locks.
Oh, yeah.
But they are like raccoons.
Yes.
Children can
Don't
fly.
find it.
All right.
Swing over this way.
Oh.
Speaking of raccoons, apparently I have some raccoon DNA. One of my very first memories is of my house in Midland. I must have been 3. And somehow or other, I got it into my head to get on top of the kitchen cabinet. My mother must have turned her back for like 5 seconds because she was really on me all the time. But anyway, I got into what I thought were caramels, little square, cubes wrapped in foil, and thinking I was about to have a sweet treat all on my own up there. And it turned out to be bouillon cubes.
I have a similar. I have a similar one. I was younger than Mark's, probably 8 or 9, and we'd come home, and my sister and I were alone for about an hour and a half, 2 hours while my mom was at work. And I decided to make myself one of those little snack pizzas that you can get for like $1. We'd throw it in the oven, whatever. Well, I saw this container, and I said, "Oh, hey, I can put extra cheese on this." So I put it on there, and I stick it in the oven, and like 12 minutes later, I come back and open it up, and the cheese didn't melt. It had browned and curled up. It was coconut.
You just invented a new pizza.
Right? I suppose if it had pineapple on it, that might have actually been a good combination.
Hawaiian.
Carolyn.
Oh, I'm patting my cat. I'm not waving.
Ours has been howling. She's wanting her lunch. And so we have had a howling cat. Well, we were muted. Hope you didn't hear her.
We walked on the river trail the other day. Was it yesterday? The days like, there's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We saw David and we saw Don Kyle on the same.
Yay!
Very nice. Yeah, we've seen David on the trail several times. We must be on the same schedule.
Goes a lot faster.
Yeah. His 2 wheels go a lot faster than our 4 feet over there. Junior.
I wanted to say about, again, people were back to Janis Joplin. I wanted to recommend something which is a movie, documentary of a concert, one of the first documentaries of concerts, I think from 1964 or thereabouts, called Monterey Pop. And Janis Joplin is a young unknown in it, and she gives the most dynamite performance you could just imagine. And the photography is great. I forget the director, but it's somebody really good. And it's of all concert films I've ever seen, you get the greatest sense of her energy and of her power and intensity. It's amazing, and I'm sure it's available on streaming. Monterey Pop.
What gets me is how young she was.
Yes.
I mean, when you think that she died at 27, and where did all that come from? So I got to watch this documentary you're talking about, Carolyn. I mean, where did that death come from? It's amazing. Oh. What was I doing at 27? I was chasing 2 little kids around. I know that.
And 1 child and 1 on the way.
Yeah.
I think my generation's equivalent would have been Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was devastating when she died. And of course, Jimi Hendrix, right around the same time.
Right.
So many
And
of them died young. Yeah. Either drugs or accidents. Look at that plane crash that killed Buddy Holly and other Stevie Ray Vaughan. So many. And a member of our church in Austin commented one time about how dangerous that profession is because you're on the road, you're exposed to drugs, you're exposed to alcohol, and that's why so many of them die early, and it's terribly sad. So much talent.
There was recently, well, when was it? Last year, there was an exhibit at the De Young Museum in San Francisco called The Summer of Love. And it was the summer of 1967. And I get chills even thinking about it. It was just the most amazing thing. And of course, she was part of that. They had the clothes and the music and the like EST rooms with the cushions. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. There was a dress exhibited there that was exactly like one that I had worn for years and years and years. And I went around the corner and I saw this dress and I burst into tears. It was just so, the whole experience was just amazing. I have the coffee cup. And I have the mouse pad.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Oh,
we watched a movie the other night that I heard about on, I think on Here and Now. It was directed by Paul Bartel, and it was made in 1993, but he'd never been able to get it released or get it distributed. It's called Shelf Life, and it's about 3 siblings who go into a bomb shelter the day Kennedy was assassinated. And the father takes them all in the shelter, and the parents eventually die, and the siblings, this is now 1993, are still in this shelter. And it is absolutely bizarre. If you want to see how behavior in quarantine can go completely wacko. It's hard to watch, actually. It's really hard to watch, but it's available on Vimeo, and it costs $6. And I don't know if it still is, but it's called Shelf Life. And if you just want just to really, it's only 80 some minutes, so you can get through it. It is bizarre.
Wow. Something hopeful. We've been watching John Adams. If you guys haven't seen that series, is it on HBO?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Giovanni.
And it's Laura Linney plays Abigail Adams. It takes you almost through his whole life. You know, it's a series, so you know. But we've been watching like 2 at a time. And
What platform is it on, Stephanie?
it's on HBO.
Oh, we don't have HBO.
Yeah, we just signed up for it because there's so much there that we, you know. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. It might be.
And we can look for it because we've got Amazon and Netflix, and I haven't seen it. I think you may have seen it, but I haven't
It's
seen it.
really good, and it's, you know, it gives you some hope about the stuff people did, you know, the founding people about this country and what they could foresee and how they dealt with it, and that some of the stuff we're going through right now is not really that, it's new, but it's not that new. And anyway, it's hopeful. It's worth it.
Nice bookend to Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I
Yes.
thought that too.
Yes.
There was a great show, great performances on KLRN. It was Ellis Island, The Dream of America. And it was with the symphony and people talking, representing 7 different types of immigrants. It was wonderful. It was really great.
Have you ever been to Ellis Island? It's really an amazing experience. We didn't come through Ellis Island because it had closed a long time when we got here. We just came to the docks. But having gone through that ship experience of arriving in the United States as an immigrant, it was incredibly moving to me. And it's just a beautiful place to visit.
It is.
I do want to thank Jill for reading the sermon and making it her own.
Thank you.
The Sunday Service Committee has to rely on our members, and you guys have done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
all right.
Well,
Everyone have a wonderful week. I need to leave now.
Goodbye.
A lot like last, that'd be a lot like next week.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.
Good to see all. We're going to go get started on the last few things in the truck here in a few minutes. So we'll see y'all later.
Give us a
Bye,
call.
Justin.
Absolutely.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Anybody going to the courthouse?